Okay, so today is about me a little bit more. That's the goal. Noelle and I said, okay, we're going to talk about Jen. Okay, and one thing that you mentioned that we could perhaps talk about was this getaway that I took. Bro, I think it was in April. And because the weather wasn't phenomenal, I remember it rained and it was cool and there was still some snow on the ground up here in the mountains. And so it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to the beach to hang out. I was very much choosing a time in my life to go inward. And I had never done that before.
Mhm.
In 48 years, I did actually a little video for Instagram on this. I said, I've never done this. I've never driven away from my family, my reality, my troubles, my responsibilities. Never driven away and said, I'm taking 2 nights by myself. And that was both liberating and also a little scary. I love myself. So it's not that. I wasn't scared to be alone by myself. I wasn't scared about intruders. I wasn't scared about strangers.
Mhm.
But there was that question of what am I going to find?
Oh,
What am I going to
okay.
find? I had done a lot of automatic writing prior. So I had taken a bunch of my journals. I brought my computer. They didn't have internet there. There was no TVs. I had a record player in my little baby cabin. It was amazing. They provided you with records. I listened to music
Wow.
that I would never would have chosen for
Aw.
myself because I didn't choose it for myself. And that was really fun and intimate. And I brought my own food and bottles of wine. And I did say bottles for 2 nights.
That got stuck in my head too. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm like, I did say bottles. I think I only brought 2 bottles for 2 nights. And then I took a little bit of time and went to the hot springs, which is about 15 minutes away from there, clothes optional. I think I wore a swimming suit. Most of the men were completely nude, which why do men tend to be nude? What is that? Have you noticed that? You go to a nude beach, there's tons of naked men. You go to hot springs, tons of naked men. What is that about?
Because we are ridiculous about our body image, and men typically, not all, but typically don't have that level of self-consciousness about feeling undesirable or gross or whatever we do to ourselves about our bodies. Men don't really have that level of shame in the way that we do, from what I've seen. And I have been to a nude beach before and I saw the same exact thing. And they are not shy about looking sometimes at other people, but
Right.
they don't have, typically, they don't have that like self-consciousness. So, yes.
You know what else just hit me though? If you're walking up to me and you're naked and I'm looking at your eyes, you're going to know if I'm looking at your package. Like I have to look down there and look at your penis.
Hmm.
But boobs, breasts, excuse me, they're way easier. I just can go like that and get a like, oh, I'm open.
Hmm.
But if I'm going to look down at someone's penis, I have to really make an effort. I don't think looked at one penis because I was like, one, I really don't want to see other people's penises. I don't think they're that pretty. I think they're fine when they're swollen and erect, but I don't really think a soft penis is that fun to look at. So I know I'm revealing a lot about myself right now. I think boobs or breasts are much more fun to look at, but then I wouldn't do that to a woman either because I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
I can't. But then you feel like you're okay. I must look at you. I will not divert. If I'm going to look anywhere, I'll look up. Hot Springs was lovely. I don't recommend going to a naked hot springs by yourself. I felt fine, but
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. It was raining and I
Oh,
wanted to meditate,
okay.
but I couldn't really go sit outside in the cold rain and meditate and things like that. I did do a bunch of meditating. The reason I think this topic right now is so valuable for me personally is because this morning was the first time I'd meditated in probably 2 months.
Oh, wow. It's a
Oh,
long
wow.
time.
Right. As I sat there today, because I did a ton of meditating when I was by myself.
Mm.
And as I sat there today in meditation, I apologized to my spirit Ohana. I apologized to my guides. I apologized. And then was reminded that they don't take offense, they just wait.
Yeah.
And I let that go because they've yelled at me about that before. They're like, that's about you, not about us. Get over it. Like, we aren't about that guilt up here. And I didn't get any huge epiphany in my meditation today. And that was the coolest part because I felt my body settle. I
Mm.
felt my body just say, okay, this is why you meditate. You don't meditate for an epiphany every time you close your eyes. 99% of the time I sit quietly, I don't get these huge aha moments. If I do get the aha moments,
Mm.
it's when I'm automatic writing afterwards. That's usually when important things come through. But when
Mm.
I'm meditating, it's hard for me to not close. It's hard for me to slow my mind to take that time to just settle. If there's anything that anyone takes from this is sitting for 5 minutes, even if your mind feels there's a gerbil hamster running around, it's fine. As your body reaps benefits by just slowing down for 5 minutes with your eyes closed. But then I realized, okay, why is that? Why has that been happening? Why have I been avoiding meditation? One, I think I'm a little depressed,
Mm.
very perimenopausal, we've talked about. F you, Perry. I think that was one of our, I
Screw you,
love that.
Perry. Yeah.
Screw you, Perry. We should have put fuck you, Perry. I think that has definitely affected me more than maybe I'm
Mm.
owning up to lately. And I feel a heaviness in my happiness. And I'm a usually pretty happy person. As I think I've been a little depressed. I was more focused on the physical form of me and the aches and the pains rather than the spiritual form of me. My focus has just been on what's
Okay.
going on with my body. Why am I hurting? This is
Mm.
hurting. That's hurting. Golly, I wake up and my joints hurt. I wake up and I'm uncomfortable. Are you kidding me? I'm laying in bed and things hurt.
Oof.
I went to the chiropractor 2 days ago and I
Yeah.
thought I was going to die yesterday when I woke up because I was in so much pain. My body had been so tight and holding on to so much. When that happens, when we get into the physical world, when we get into that very pain focused world, that's when we should be going and connecting with our spiritual side because we can ask them for help. We can say, hey guys, help me with this. I need you to come in
Mm-hmm.
and move things and help me free this locked up emotion or help me free this thing that is expressing itself physically in physical form that is probably more of a spiritual emotional thing. And I thought I was listening to Enlightened Empaths today and they're talking about something, but archaeology, something. I don't know. It was really good. No.
I don't remember,
but
but anyway.
but they were talking about how, oh, there's that book that Samantha loves, basically about how we eventually all of our emotional stress will come through in our bodies and it will express itself physically. And
Mm.
I've been like, okay, my shoulders hurt, my neck hurt,
Mm.
my low back hurts, like my everything hurts. And I thought, okay. And I got this knowing, this clear cognizance
Mm-hmm.
that said, it's tiring carrying the weight of all of this, isn't it? That's the message that I heard.
Oh.
For those of you listening who may not know, I have an 8-year-old who is magical. Her name is Teal. She has special needs, she has disabilities. That is heavy. And I got that message very clearly. So
Mm.
I have a choice right now. I have a choice to continue to carry the guilt and the weight and the hope, or I have a choice to say, and when I say hope, I mean hope that something will change, hope that all of a sudden she'll start talking, hope that she's going to all of a sudden love math. God forbid it's math. Uh, Hope that she'll eventually have fine motor so that she can just write her name like every other kid, or that when her journals come home from school, they're not written by somebody else. Eh,
Mm. Yeah.
All that heaviness is attached to hope. It's really weird because I'm a positive person. I'm very hopeful. I believe she is an incredible human being and she will forever be this incredible human being. But how much do you hook your anchor on hope
Yeah.
and then watch yourself sink? This clear epiphany. Was that because I started meditating today? Maybe. And again, it's just opening ourselves up to let spirit give us messages. And that's what I think I started again today was to say, okay, guys,
Mm-hmm.
I'm back on board. All right. Let's also talk about some of the other physical things. I have not had sex with my husband, I think, in 8 weeks. We went on that fun little getaway and it was so cool. I came back with a UTI because we had a lot of sex. And then the UTI turned into a random yeast infection. And then the yeast infection went away, and then I got burning again. And I literally looked at Alex and I said,
Gosh.
"Are you sleeping with other people? Do I have an STD?" He's not.
Wow. No, I get that, but
Sorry, I guess that's probably not funny to joke about. He was like, "Jen, why would you even ask me that?" I'm like, "I'm sorry." I thought that was funny. He did not think that was funny. He was very offended. No, I'm not sleeping. I'm like, I'm kidding. Okay, so then my father dies. And we can talk about that. It's fine. It's not fine that he died. I'm very open to talking about it. All of this happens when then I got my period a couple days ago. And when I
okay.
put the tampon up my vagina, I realized yeast infection was not gone because it
Oh,
started itching again. So I started some drugs yesterday because I need to have sex with my husband, which is a roundabout way of me saying being physically focused. I was so physically focused on everything here and all the aches and pains and yuckies that I was also not having any physical releases. I haven't had an orgasm in that time. And now that all ties in. Okay.
yes, how we create self-compassion is that we list all the stuff that's been happening and be like, yeah, no wonder I'm feeling this way or I'm not feeling that way, is
Yeah.
because I've got all this emotional stuff going on. And everything you're talking about is pretty heavy stuff. Look, you're talking about a major list of things. And when you say your daughter is special needs, that could mean so many things. And for Teal in particular, and there's lots of things I don't know about what she needs, but from what I understand, do you still need to feed her?
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's no opportunity for me to just give her a snack and say, go ahead and eat that quick. We're running
Okay.
out the door. She is getting better at putting food in her mouth. She's getting better controlling her spoon. However, we still have to have a bib on. We still have to have a towel on. We still have to have her in some sort of a seat. There's no eating in a car seat because she could choke. There's none
Gosh.
of that. I
Yeah.
can't drive and say, here, have your snack. Or, I mean, I was asking some parents the other day, hey, how do you feed, how do you do breakfast before school starts? And they're like, we throw them a bar or a piece of toast. And when we're in the car, they eat it. Oh, that would be so much easier. I have to sit her and feed her and make sure because calories are really important for my little one. She's a very small 8-year-old.
Yeah.
She is walking. She's not talking. She is verbal-ish. She's telepathic, so it's tricky. I still have to help her toilet. So she can't dress herself. She can't take her pants up and down. She can't put her shoes on. When I start listing those things,
Well, yeah. That's a long list of things to be attuned to somebody else about. And I can imagine there are days when you're just, sorry, I don't know why this term is coming to me, but hot shotting around. Like, I guess, don't ask me. I don't know if that's your dad. Like being in the flow of stuff, hot shotting around. I've never heard that before. It's cute.
hot shotting
Um,
around.
hot shotting around.
Hot shot.
And then there are days or maybe even weeks when you're feeling more perimenopausal symptoms. And so helping Teal with every aspect of her being. When you say special needs, I just don't think it covers it. Feeling utterly responsible for everything that she needs because you need to help her with those things. And it's been 8 years. That would be a long time. I want to go back to the hope. I've heard people use the term hopium. Have you heard that before?
Hopium. No.
Yeah,
What's hopium?
hopium. It's like using hope a bit like a drug you're addicted to, always hoping things will get better, even when they seem pretty dire. That can be its own kind of drain because if you're always trying to hitch your wagon to the hopium train, that would be a bit exhausting too, because you have to generate that hope when you're not genuinely feeling it, when you're feeling tired, feeling off, your body's changing, you're having apparently a lot of aches and pains, and coming upon a yeast infection, a UTI, those things could escalate without you really realizing it.
Right.
That's a lot of stuff, Jen. That's like a
Yeah.
lot of stuff all happening at the same time.
Yeah. I can't wait to figure out a title for this one. Down in the Dumps with Jen. Debbie Downer Jen.
You're not actually,
It's the real life gang. It's the real life.
I tend to not want to embrace trendy terms about things, but I think the term toxic positivity
Mm,
is a really good term because I have certainly felt the pressure of that for years. And not that I want to sit around complaining all the time, But I also don't want to feel like I have to be fucking positive all the time because there's being authentic. And I think you're just being authentic. I don't have the experience of you complaining. You're
Nice.
talking about what's actually happening. And I want to hear that as your friend. I'm sure everybody else can relate to different aspects of what you're sharing about because we all have those times when
Mm,
life feels like kind of a fucking drudgery, like you're pulling stuff along to make them happen. And it can
mm.
feel really hard.
I agree. Thank you. I really do. The funniest part about all of this, or funny is probably not the best word, but the least thing that I'm worried about is my father's passing. And I
That
think
is interesting. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
actually think that is something that I hope people can hear. I worked hard. I got to speak at his funeral.
Mhm.
That helped tremendously in identifying the key core messages that he taught me.
Hmm.
I was authentic. I said, my father and I did not have a typical relationship growing up. I was not daddy's little girl. He probably hated it that I said that, but that was true. And I said, what I am proud of is that we identified how to build a relationship, how to become
Mhm.
friends, how to respect the fact that people do not have to have the same opinions of the same things and still love each other and still can have conversations. We worked hard on that relationship because it was important. And so now this morning I woke up and I thought, I would really like him to call. I don't sit here and bawl and cry all the time. I actually haven't cried since his funeral. I've done this, but not like cried. And that's because I believe that there is life after life.
Mhm.
This life is just leading us to the next life that we have to live. And you saying, oh, maybe that was your dad. I completely agree with that.
Mhm.
I completely agree that we have the ability to connect to incredible entities that are beyond
Mhm.
us in all of these struggles that I'm talking about. The least one that's heavy on my heart is my dad's passing, which is very strange. I almost feel a little guilty about that. I'm like, oh, I should probably feel more, but I don't. It's all right. It's all right to love and let go and to realize that he's still here. And I think he did a flyby this morning. Both Teal and I went at the same time. And
Ooh.
I said, was that Papa? And she looked at me. She's in a really horrible mood this morning. I think she cried on the floor, screaming for 30 minutes. She wanted to go fly her frozen kite that she got from her grandmother 2 days ago, and we haven't made it a priority. And she just lost it. But the other message that I kept hearing in my head was this is not about the kite. There's something that Teal's missing. Or maybe she was saying, there's something I'm missing, Mama. We got to figure this out. We've had people in town. It's been nonstop. I think she needs some more of me, which is why I've got to start
Mm.
meditating again, just to pull this all back up. The more I meditate, the more I'm connected to her. And I think she has felt me
Mhm.
not being spiritually connected to myself, which means she probably feels like I am less spiritually connected to her. And I did not know that until right now when I said it.
Wow. That's huge.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm writing it down.
That's why I need to meditate more. And mind you, it was 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes, but all I had to do was just open myself up back up again. So if anyone has stopped meditating, I think you should just close your eyes for 5 minutes. Just do it.
Absolutely. I've been sick for a couple weeks. I canceled a lot of meetings because I wasn't feeling well. I did a session and I could only do like half of it. In my mind, I was like, I'm out of commission for right now until whenever. Then I was meeting with somebody yesterday and the stuff started flowing and I was like, oh, thank you. It was the first time in a couple of weeks. And that's a big deal. Having the experience of feeling in the flow.
Mhm.
There's nothing quite like it. It's easy to talk ourselves out of it, to feel guilty, apologize to your team. They're like, dude, we don't care. Just jump back in,
Just get
kind of
back in.
thing.
We're waiting.
My impression when you were talking about your dad and how you're feeling or not feeling, the impression that came to me
Mhm.
was that you have no unfinished business about that right now.
Mhm.
And I think part of grief is feeling the tearing of the relationship or the connection or the ability to be connected with that person. And it is weird being a medium and grieving. You can grieve not having a conversation on the phone, not having visits, but you don't have the severing of the relationship that most times is what we grieve. So I could see how that would be a little bit mixed. And in some ways, he might even be more available to you and to Teal.
So that's how I told Teal what happened.
Oh,
I said, okay, she's an empath. I was crying. It was an unexpected passing. He went to sleep and did not wake up. Good on him. Well done,
yeah.
George. However, not exactly how we all would have loved it. I'd like maybe have, oh, okay, we should probably talk about this. There are so many synchronicities. I know we're supposed to be talking about sex and vaginas, but whatever.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
oh,
It's all connected, though. This is
this
about
is,
being connected to yourself as well as the people around you. Yeah.
yeah. Anywho, it's the day before. So he passed on a Saturday night, basically Sunday morning. On Friday, he called me and said, do you want some of my ashes? I said, we had a conversation. I was like, why are you asking this? He said, we just started planning the funeral on planning our funerals on Wednesday. He died like 36 hours later. There's just a lot of incredible things that happen when we start putting pieces together. Anyways, Teal came into the bedroom. I was crying and I said, so do you know how Poppy, which is my husband, her other grandfather, do you know how Poppy comes and visits you sometimes? And she looked at me and I said, oh, Papa gets to too. And Papa doesn't have to worry so much about you anymore. He gets to see and experience all the amazing that you are whenever he wants to.
Oh, my goodness.
But
That's
that
beautiful.
really was it. My father had so much
Mm.
worry about Teal and concern for her. And was she ever going to talk? And was she ever going to, how do I measure her understanding? And he would make me very sad and I would cry sometimes and I would hang up the phone like, why are you asking me this shit? Like, just stop. You're adding to the fuel of this heaviness that I have. And he'd be like, how do you know that she understands things? How do you know she's comprehending math? And how do you know? And there were times when I would say, I need to get off the phone now. This
Yeah.
hurts. I need to hang up. And we would hang up. Go ahead.
So as you're talking about this for about
Yeah.
the last minute and a half, I'm just getting a sharp pain above my right breast.
Okay.
That's an area where I'm numb. So when I get a sensation there and it's like a sharp poke and it's still happening, I'm assuming it's related to what you're talking about. I'm not sure how, but it's pretty prominent. So I'm supposed to share about it. It's
What
not
do
the side
you,
of your heart.
yeah.
Oh, but this is actually the right side, I believe, is the masculine side.
Mm,
So it would be connected to your father.
great.
Okay.
See, sorry he's giving you pain, but glad he's
No
here.
worries.
George, if you could let that up, it would be lovely.
He's doing that to get our attention.
I'm wondering what came in was
Mm.
the right side of the heart. Is that the one who pushes blood out or pulls it in? Should look that up.
Yeah, but I actually got it was connected to the heart too.
Mm.
Something about the other side of the heart too. Okay, good.
Heart
Okay.
failure. I'm pretty sure he passed from congested heart failure.
And just as we're
Mhm,
talking about this in maybe the
mhm.
last 30 seconds, that now I don't feel anything again.
And
We
I
must
asked
have
him to
hit
let
on
go
it.
too.
That's
I was
true.
like, can
Thank
you
you,
let that
George.
up,
Yeah,
please? Yeah. Thanks, George.
interesting.
Just to tie this all up, what I'm remembering is that one of the most beautiful ways that we can connect with people is when we're vulnerable enough to share about ourselves. And
Mm,
I don't all the time. I'm pretty good at asking questions.
yeah.
I'm not always good at answering them. And so I thank you for
Mm,
letting me be vulnerable to anyone who's listening and with you personally, because it creates more of a connection. And if we're trying to create more connections with our loved ones, our husbands, with our spouses, with whomever, our partners, our friends, oh, sweetheart, she's crying for anyone listening on the
Oh,
audio.
actually, I feel like I'm feeling your dad's emotions right now. So this is what I
Oh,
consider clair empathy. And
yeah.
what I'm feeling aware of from him is that he's afraid he wasn't nearly vulnerable enough, that he was vulnerable so little with you that it didn't really create the kind of, there wasn't a creation of the kind of connection that you should have had and deserved from your father.
Oh, that's very true.
And he's sorry. He's apologizing now.
Oh. That's a real good assessment of him. And mind you, Noelle's never met my father. So anyone who's wondering, oh,
Mm.
have we met? Noelle's never met my dad.
We're both
Uh,
mediums, so we pick up on things,
yeah.
sometimes more than others, of
Yeah.
course. I haven't gotten a lot of messages anytime we've actually been recording,
Mm.
but this is unmistakable. And if anybody isn't watching the video, they could see we're both teary-eyed, like we're really feeling it. You're right, it's ever present in your life now. And that's the beautiful part about somebody's passing is that they might be way more accessible and they let go of a lot of the earthly shit that
Mhm.
they carried, some slowly over time, some rather quickly.
Mhm.
And to see him as a resource, he's saying, of emotional connection in a way that you wouldn't normally think to relate to him as. He would appreciate better second chances, the words that
Oh,
I'm getting. Yeah.
I'm impressed that he's coming back so quickly. I was
Hmm.
wondering if he would pop in at some point. I didn't think he'd come back so quickly. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
He's also mentioning that he wants to keep up with special teal.
He will.
Yeah. I'm just really feeling the love and embracing of your family from him
Mm.
and aware of just love. Yeah, it's really sweet.
So can I
So,
now say, I told you, Dad?
nope. I see that in caps, all caps. Nope. And then just kidding in lowercase. Just kidding.
So true, though. After he passed away, I was like, finally, he knows that I wasn't such a whack job. Because
Mm.
I'd be like, Dad, I talk to dead people. He's, do not. He's seriously, Jen. So now I'm like, see, I told you.
He's saying he can't poke fun anymore.
You
Now
can't
that
call
he's
me crazy bitch.
participating, he
Uh-huh.
can't poke fun anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And he's saying he's sorry for being a relentless idiot and cynic. His words.
Ooh, maybe he didn't share with me as much as what he actually thought down on Earth. Because I wouldn't let him. I would just be like, let's done. Let's change the subject. It's fine. I wouldn't go there because I just didn't want to hear what he actually thought. I think that's probably it because I knew it.
Yeah, even what you were just sharing about the things he would say about teal. I'm being reminded of what you were just saying. I'm feeling the resonance of that with the idiot part. He wasn't just saying these things to his daughter. Have you thought about this? Have you thought? He was actually saying those things to a mother who had her own daughter to worry about. And he was being totally insensitive to
Mm.
that. And that's part of what he is apologizing for right now.
Mm.
Yeah. And he's thanking me for communicating that for
Mm.
him. And now I just feel like I promise to do better.
Thanks, Dad.
Healing power of mediumship. There is nothing
Yeah.
like it in the world. There just
Thank
isn't.
you,
Yeah.
Noelle.
Oh, of course. I'm glad. George, you're welcome to join us anytime in any meeting, of
Yeah.
course. And so welcoming to have you here now and saying these things. How beautiful.
Just got hot. Ooh, got really hot. Ooh. It's
I'm
not a
feeling
hot
a little
flash
warm
hot.
too,
It's
actually.
not a hot
Yeah.
flash
Kind
hot.
of
Like
here.
it's really
Yeah.
here in the middle of my core, like
Mm-hmm.
heart
Yeah.
and belly.
I'm feeling
Yeah, and
like a
up here.
column also. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's another cool thing about mediumship is that often
Mhm.
we'll have the same experience and it's being given to both of us to validate each other that we are actually experiencing that.
Yeah. And if we don't talk about it, if you hadn't just, or if I hadn't said, "Oh, I'm getting hot," and then you go, "Oh, you're getting hot," and then you explained it, I was like, "Yeah, it's right." If we hadn't openly talked about that, then we wouldn't have known that we were
Yeah.
just getting confirmations of one another's
Hmm.
experiences. That's just a whole nother thing of making sure that we're vulnerable and open and don't be walking up doing flyby readings for people. Like we do not recommend doing that for
Please
people.
don't.
Really,
Yeah.
really scary for people to have that happen to them unrequested. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a vulnerable position to put
Right.
somebody in
Yeah.
to spring these kinds of things on them. And that's not either of
Yes.
our styles, which I'm
No.
grateful for. And because we both do mediumship, and so do some of our mutual friends and individual
Hmm.
friends, it's a part of our meetings when we're together. If we pick
We
up
do
on something
flybys all the time for each other.
constantly, hopefully, but we have lots of permission and we know that it's welcomed.
Yes.
That's really different than somebody you don't really know or somebody who has like a different belief system. And
Hmm.
then I'm super conscientious about what I'm saying. But also, when I'm talking to somebody who has a different belief system, I don't really get information in the way I do with somebody who's aligned with me. And I'm grateful because I don't want to be hearing all kinds of stuff from somebody's grandmother that I can't share.
Mm.
even family members. Their grandmother I've connected with a couple of times, but I'm not going to share that because,
Mm-mm.
as my cousin once told me, Noelle, we don't talk to the dead in his belief system, very
Right.
religious. And I was like, I gotcha.
You don't talk to the dead.
He
Silly
doesn't.
me.
He
Right.
doesn't.
No, I know.
The rest of us do.
Poor
What a
guy.
weirdo.
Oof.
What a weirdo. I'm
This
playing.
is smart.
I jokingly will
Nope,
say, I was
don't
just
even.
thinking
Yeah.
this morning, you know what? I'm okay with being the weirdo
Me too.
because sometimes the weirdo is the person that the now a newly grieving person can reach out to and actually get the help and support and love and connection they need to help them heal and move on. So I'm the
Mhm.
fucking weirdo, and that's okay. But it's
Yeah.
nice to call somebody else the weirdo once. But
Yes. I
anyway,
like that. I know
I'm
name
over
calling
it.
isn't exactly our forte, but yeah, I think that was appropriate. Yeah. And there's so many things that popped in my head when you were talking. Oh, flyby. Okay. So that's what happened. So in my dad's funeral, I didn't see him. I just knew he was there.
Hmm.
And normally I wouldn't have said anything. My dad loved ice cream. So we did an ice cream social. There was literally just
Ooh,
just ice cream. People could just eat ice cream and then saltwater taffy. Those were like two things that he loved. And so it was fun. We didn't have to have sit down lunch and you didn't have to make
I
uncomfortable
love that.
conversation. It was just great. Anywho, I don't think I ever sat down because I was walking around and people were walking up and all that. And I openly said to quite a few people, "Oh yeah, dad totally was popped in on the service."
Mm.
And I didn't feel out of place saying
Ooh,
that. So it
wow.
felt okay that I think it was important for other people to hear that. So that wasn't a drive-by reading, but that was open
Right.
and vulnerable, saying, "Oh yeah." And I would say I didn't see him. It wasn't like I saw him with
Yeah.
wings on him and flying through the church.
It was also your dad's service, and you're
Exactly.
talking about your dad. So it would be
Yeah.
different if you were at somebody else's parents and you said that to them. And if that isn't their belief system, that could be totally freaky. And when you mentioned the ice cream,
Yeah.
what I think your dad was like sad they missed out on being able to eat the ice cream. And
Totally.
what I don't know if this was a flavor he would have wanted, but what came to me was butter pecan ice cream. And then to have that the ideal would have been to this hot pecans, like caramelly pecan sauce. I don't know if that's a thing that
Oh, it was his favorite Sunday.
get
Yeah.
out.
That's so cool.
George. Hey, he's
I'm
already communicating. That was so clear, so easy to pick up on.
getting all shivers.
Wow. Oh, this
Ooh,
is so cool, Jen.
oh my gosh.
Your
It,
dad's gonna hang out with
I
us.
know.
So exciting. There's a woman in our
Charles
group.
said that her relationship with one of her parents is significantly better now since the passing. And I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that'll be fun to see how this relationship now grows and
Hmm.
knowing that it's not the end of a relationship.
Yes, and he's emphasizing no judgments because he will
Mm,
be seeing with his own eyes what's actually happening with the sensitivity he never had before and an awareness that he is currently cultivating.
mhm.
For anybody listening or watching, this is information I'm getting from him. So I'm not making this up or pretending I know something about him or what he's doing. I'm getting this. I'm feeling an enthusiasm from him as well. I'm hearing the Spin Doctors song I was hearing earlier when I was driving.
What's that
Little
one?
Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
That's very much my dad. Like, he thought I was that way, and it's
Got it.
hilarious that he
Okay.
popped in with that song. That wasn't something that we'd ever referenced, but that's hilarious. We're
These
both quite
references.
stubborn. He's all over the place right now.
This is
Love
awesome.
him. Oh, cool.
I do want to say, with my own father, we always had a distant, strained relationship. Just in the last couple of months, I feel a sense of support from him that I never felt when he was walking on the earth. There are times he has shown up for me, like complimenting me on something that I'm doing and that I'm getting better. And that's just not the guy that I knew.
And how long ago did he pass? Transition.
I think it was 2017,
Eight
7 or 8
years.
years.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing very clearly
Mm.
is don't ever give up that
Oh,
hope. Ha
yeah.
ha ha.
Oh my
He,
goodness. Yes. Like my grandmother who comes through and helps us with relationship stuff or
yeah.
sexuality, she passed 30 years ago. She was not somebody I would have talked to about any of this stuff. She struggled with relationships and people struggled in relationship with her. Not everybody, but a lot of people. There's just been a real turnaround. I couldn't be more grateful. And it's not even hopium, it's genuine hope and
Mhm.
enthusiasm for things that can be like reinvented when
Mhm.
people cross, because we let go of a lot of the reactivity. Sometimes it takes time, though. So for
Mhm.
George, apparently, he's got a quick turnaround time. For
Which
the
is
father I grew
shocking
up
to
with,
me.
it takes a couple years. And for my grandmother, it took about 30. But
Yeah,
whatever. Then they come around, their energy is good. You feel the difference, and you can set boundaries when you're like,
good.
I'm happy for you about you and George, and I'm happy for him.
I need to go write it down, everything that you just said to me.
Mm.
I'm glad we have it recorded. I have no idea uh, what anyone took away from this podcast today. But
Oh, yeah, we're
however,
doing a podcast.
I
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
was like, you're not doing just the mediumship reading for me, which is amazing. As you were thinking, and then you referenced the song, he came to me and said, so now remember, it's not always a hot flash because when you feel that
Ooh.
core heat within you, that can be me. And I was
Ah,
like, oh, Dad, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
excited for
amazing.
you.
I had no idea he would pop in. So, George, you do know that this podcast is called Vagina Whispering. You didn't even know I had it.
He's
I
saying
mean, he knew I had a vagina. He didn't know that I had a
oh,
podcast
gotcha.
called Vagina
Yeah,
Whispering.
yeah.
What did he say?
I'm getting that he knows now and that it's a better title than anything he would have come up with. Yeah. Humility is his new drug, he's saying.
Oh, goodness. He's
And
made a
he's
lot of
gonna
progress.
overdose on that. Yeah.
Mm.
It's amazing the change we can experience with people. I remember trying to do a reading for a friend with her dad who passed, and he was saying whatever he was saying, and it was like him basically apologizing, confessing his selfishness. She was like, nope, that is not, like, she just had no space for him being different. But he'd been gone for a long time. He's had time to work on himself. So
Mhm.
some of it is us when we're open. Part of it is openness and willingness to always set boundaries because we have to.
Yeah.
And just like connecting with our bodies, people connecting with their own vaginas. There are times when I've had to set boundaries with my vagina because she was being super snarky, or that was the energy of what I felt. And I was like, no. And it could have easily
Mhm.
just been a reflection of how I think of myself sometimes, or what I project on to what I
Yeah.
think the energy, blah, 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 blah.
That's the tricky part about mediumship when you're doing it with and
Yes,
for yourself.
for yourself. It's very tricky because you
Hmm.
can't be objective about yourself. Only in maybe the last 2 years, and I've been doing mediumship for on and off for a long time. Maybe only even in the last year do I feel more competent in doing it for myself.
Hmm.
So for anybody who's trying to do that or connecting with your vagina more, whatever it is,
Hmm.
give yourself lots of space to feel like you're being fraudulent, in for lack of a better word to say that, because we all feel that way, because it seems, no, I can't connect that easily, that quickly, and I must be making that up. But suspended disbelief
Hmm.
that you can pick up on stuff can be really helpful. And also just getting support from other people who, when you're really looking for messages, when I really need a message about myself or some
Hmm.
situation, I ask other people to help me. I recognize the lack of objectivity.
And just to tie this all up about that woman who said, no, absolutely not. I'm not ready for that change. The one thing that I think is interesting about, and it goes back to what I said at the funeral, was
Mm.
we had worked on our relationship. It
Yeah.
wasn't like we had a bad relationship. I mean, we were honest about being competitive, being stubborn. Everybody knew that about my father. The
Mm.
opening line after so I said on Tuesday when I said I would talk up here, I thought it was a great idea, and now I want to vomit. And I was like, just bear with me. And then I opened with, after saying that, I opened with, how many of you guys played poker with my father? And like people raised their hands. I was like, I am sorry. Because he was so competitive, so stubborn. So we were honest about who he was. And I think what's
That's
cool
adorable.
is,
Yeah.
but he's showing, like when
Mm.
he showed you nope in capital letters, like that was a very clear indication of, yep, that's my dad. Cause he'd be like, no, I don't want to hear it.
When you're talking about his stubbornness, he's showing me an image of a donkey. And
Pun
they
intended.
are known for stubbornness and
Oh,
being
and being
obstinate
an
kind of thing.
ass.
Being an
I mean,
ass. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's so
Oh,
funny.
and he was the perfect ass, he's saying.
But that again, there's a competitiveness. He's like, if I'm gonna be an ass, I'm gonna be a perfect ass. That's great. All right. And Turtle Sundays, that's what that Sunday was called, by the way, that you described.
Oh, okay.
Called a Turtle Sunday. And there was this one place that they would go. It was their treat. So
Mm,
cool. I cannot wait to tell his wife, Jan, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to be like, you are never gonna believe. Or yeah, she totally will believe. Okay. Yeah.
okay. This was
Crazy.
unexpected and fun and quite a ride. So, George, thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
Dad.
all of you for listening. And please keep listening. Contact us if you have ideas, suggestions, or questions for us at vaginawhispering@gmail.com.
Yeah. We just got an email from an individual, and we won't say their
Okay.
name or anything like that, but we just got an email saying, hey, I think this would be a great topic for your podcast. So
Thank you.
I think that's
Yeah.
really fun. And they offered to speak. So if you want to come on and possibly be a speaker,
Yeah.
come on, be a speaker. Let us know. You want to talk about your vagina? Let's do this.
Actually, I didn't check in with Jen about this before, but it
Oh,
feels right to bring it up. It occurred to me that I think we should offer a couple of our listeners vagina readings, asking that they're willing to come on the show and talk about what the experience of the reading was like, but also maybe a before and after.
mhm.
This is where I was feeling disconnected from my vagina.
So what you're saying is we would love two. Also is a V, which I think that's perfect. A V2. So we're going to offer two vagina readings
To two of
for
our listeners.
listeners. So
Yes.
you'll give them a reading and I'll give them a reading. So they'll each get two readings because then you get different
Yes,
things than I get.
absolutely.
We don't want to know what the issues are. We'll give you the reading and then
Comes on as a guest and talks about the reading and how to learn how to connect better with your own vagina, because
okay.
that's part of what we're trying to bridge
Yeah,
too.
you have to be willing to talk on a podcast with us. It'll be so
With
fun.
us.
Yeah, it'll be
Yes.
so fun.
And we respect privacy.
It's
So you have to be willing to share some stuff, but you don't have to share everything. And we're not going to out people on stuff.
Let us know what you
We
think.
have rules about privacy that we
Oh,
totally respect. Yeah.
if there's something that you really don't want to be discussed,
Yeah.
even if we get a hit on it, we're not going to discuss it if you give us a heads up ahead of time.
The
So
more
fun.
connection, the better for all of us.
We're going to do
So,
two vagina readings. Send your emails now. Okay. Thank you so much for connecting with my dad. That was so cool. Thank
oh,
you.
thanks, George,
Thanks,
for
Dad.
coming around. This was
Thanks, Dad.
awesome.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.